Right now, as you're watching this video, there's a war going on, and it's going on right between your ears. You're either saying discouraging things to yourself, or you're saying encouraging things to yourself. Your mindsets and your self-talk is either positive or it's negative. 80% of Christians have negative mindsets going on all the time that they wrestle with. So when I was mentoring a group of young women, I asked them, how do you encourage yourself? And the first young woman who responded said, I don't. And that's the truth about most believers. They do not encourage themselves, nor do they know how. They don't even think about doing it. They don't even think about, I need to encourage myself so that I know I'm going to make it. So what I'm going to do with you today is talk to you about what encouraging yourself really means and give you tools on how to do that. So in this first video, I want to tell you a story out of the Old Testament. That's right. The Bible, the Old Testament. There is a place in 1 Samuel 30 verse 6 where it says David encouraged himself in the Lord. Now, what happened that led up to this is David and his mighty men went off to deal with the Philistines. And when they came back to their city called Ziklag, the whole thing was burned to the ground. The enemy had come in and had taken all of their wives, all of their kids, all of the livestock, and burned the city to the ground. Now, when David and his men saw this, they cried and they wailed and they wept. And then his men said, you know what? It's David's fault. And they planned to stone him. So David is standing all alone, and he thinks, how am I going to get myself out of this? What he did was, the Bible says, he encouraged himself in the Lord. And then after he encouraged himself, then he went to inquire of the Lord. And then after he inquired and he asked the Lord, what do I do? Do I go after the enemy? Do I go after the guys that did all of this and took the women and the children and the livestock? God said, yes, you go after them and you will recover everything. So what exactly did David do when he encouraged himself? It's very interesting that in Joshua 1:9, this exact same word is used. God says, do not be afraid or dismayed. Actually, it starts out with, God said, be strong and of great courage. That word strong is the same word used for encourage. When you encourage yourself, you strengthen yourself. Now, we all go through difficult times. We all go through challenges. And Jesus said that he would. In John chapter 16, he said, in the world you will have tribulation, but be of good cheer. I have overcome the world. Now, that's really, how could we be of good cheer when we're in the middle of trials and tribulation? Because that's what it means. Tribulation is their difficulties. And we will have difficulties. As Christians, one of the biggest lies that people are fed is that once you become a Christian, everything is going to run smooth. Well, it doesn't. We have trials. Jesus said they would come, but then he said, be of good cheer. So when these trials come, it is time for us to dig in our heels and encourage ourselves. And I'm telling you now that it is crucial that you prepare yourself ahead of time for the trials that are down the road, that you have tools and know how to encourage yourself, that you're already ahead of the game at pulling down negative mindsets and speaking words of life and encouragement over yourself. So, strengthening ourselves inside, inwardly, is one of the things that most of us don't do. It's an underdeveloped facet of your identity. You know, as I was watching the Olympics this year, I noticed that the Olympians, the athletes, have mind coaches. And they showed a young woman at the top of the ski hill, the ski mountain, about to ski down. And so a commentator asked one of the other Olympians, well, who is that up there with her? And they said, oh, that's her mind coach. And they say that for the Olympians, 90% of the preparation is the mental preparation and 10% is the physical athletic preparation. 90% is how they think and how they see themselves victorious and winning that gold medal. The way you think affects everything that you do. It affects your relationships. It affects your success in business. Absolutely everything. So what we're going to do right now is go to the whiteboard, and I'm going to take you a little bit deeper in this so that you have solid tools to build yourself up in encouraging yourself in the Lord. Now let me see if there's anything else I wanted to say to you. The trials that come, what I want to share with you what that word specifically means. It means pressure, oppression, stress. We all have levels of stress in our life. And listen, it's not a bad thing. Jesus said this will happen, but I will show you how to overcome. We will have anguish, adversity, affliction, crushing, squashing, squeezing, and distress. That's huge. That's what that word means. We will have tribulation. But in another place in the New Testament, the word says, think it not strange when these things happen to you. They're going to happen. But your faith gets tested during these difficult trials. So we're going to go down the road of how you can encourage yourself even today in this life. And I will speak words of life and encouragement over you, and then you will have a sheet that you can download of personalized verses that you'll be able to use on how to encourage yourself in the Lord. Okay, I'll see you at the whiteboard.